Hello, today for review I've got interesting earphones made by HiBy or HiBy, still not sure about the correct pronunciation. Probably HiBy is a proper way. So it's model Crystal 4, it's 4 balanced armature earphones. They created Crystal 6, really well-tuned model that I liked. I reviewed it some time ago, and not so long after that they released Crystal 4. It's not really a new model, because unfortunately it took some time to deliver them to me, but late is still better than never, so I got them and I want to tell about them. I don't know why, but there is virtually no information about them all over the internet, while it's a pretty promising model with 4 Knowles balanced armatures with two-way crossover and with normal price $300. I will add links to the HiBy store in the description, and probably that's all we need to know. For introduction, let's have a closer look. In terms of packaging, box is nice, looks pretty fancy. No technical specifications on the back side, but let's remove this outer sleeve. Inside there is a cardboard and traditional for HiBy approach to packaging. And here are earpieces themselves. Also you'll get a nice set of ear tips, crisp, balanced, foam and base, so whatever you need you can achieve. Nice leather storage case, and inside stock cable. In terms of design and build quality, they definitely wore this name, because it's crystal. They are made of transparent acrylic with nice fancy looking opal faceplates with company logo. Looks pretty neat in my opinion. They made of some polymer, probably it's resin, but I'm not sure about the materials. Shells looks really solid, you can see all the internals. So dual driver here and 2 separate drivers, so woofer, probably mid frequencies, and one for the treble. There are 3 separate spouts, 3 separate sound tubes that goes into one spout. It has average length, they have corresponding average sound isolation. It will be enough for public transport or for noisy street or other circumstances like that. And they have a good wearing comfort. Shell is really ergonomic. They have this like semi-custom shape of the shells. It's traditional and fitting nicely into ears, especially when you used to such shapes. And there is a lip for holding the tips, protective grill, so all the elements that should be present here is present. Here used 2 pin connectors with slightly recessed pins. If I remember right, this connector was popularized by QDC, so sometimes it's even referred as a QDC socket. And here is the stock cable. So it's R for the right, but actually I got a left earpiece. I don't know why I always keeping them in correct order during the videos, but anyway. So pretty tight sockets, they require some force to be pushed in place. Here they are, so at least they will be reliable. I wonder, is second one also that tight fitting? Yep, not that tight, but still requires some force to be pushed in place. Stock cable is nice. There are ear hooks formed, and overall cable is super soft. It's really soft. Not getting hard when it's cold outside. Nice isolation, close to zero microphonic effect. Here is the splitter with chin slider, and after splitter it goes just twisted to the regular jack, so cable is silver and actually matching the style of these earphones. So in terms of design, accessory set, package, presentation and other stuff looks really accurate, nice and pretty fancy. And of course about the sound, I gave them about 48 hours of burn-in, but balanced armatures almost never benefit from the burn-in, and these earphones didn't become an exception, so they don't change the sound during the burn-in. It's so if you decide to get them, it's much more sense to spend time experimenting with tips, because it's really important to find the proper tips. They affect sound pretty much. If you won't get the good seal, there could be problems with sound. It became weightless, too bright and too shouty. And also three tip types in the accessory set indeed impact sound signature, so you can alter their sound a little bit. Let's have a player on the table. I will use Aston Kern's SP2000, and in terms of sound, HiBy decided to make the tuning that corresponds to the name. Crystal, this model is typical balanced armatures, slightly focusing micro contrast and leaning towards a bright, lightweight sound without too much accent on low frequencies, and not super bright, but still making slight focus on the micro contrast. But let's talk about everything step by step. So low frequencies are balanced armature type here, with really good texturing, with tons of small nuances and minor details, with good overtone saturation, with pretty nice impact, but at the same time they are on the lightweight side. In terms of quantity, they have slight boost on bass, but definitely it's not the model for those who like lot of low frequencies. They are not bass head, and they have even slightly less than average accent on low frequencies. Depth is actually nice, but it's balanced armature, so lows are fast, a bit dry, and in some cases probably you can miss a bit of additional weight, unless you of course want lightweight but really detailed bass. They most of all, of course, they suiting the acoustic instruments and all that cases when you need tons of small nuances and details. And as an example, I've got Pain of Salvation 1979, and it's exactly that case when it's their acoustic album with interesting bass line, and this earphones renders it nicely. With electronic music they actually have a pretty good impact, but if you have a lot of electronic music, it's better to consider something hybrid. Mid frequencies are detailed, slightly highlighting that small nuances and details, and that makes these earphones pretty critical for the quality of record, but at the same time they are not absolutely natural and monitoring. They don't sound too clinical or too analytical, too cold. They remain still a bit of musical representation. Of course, they're not trying to boost dynamics or to add some weight to make everything more full-bodied. So, but when it's present in the record, they will play it without any problems, of course. So they are a bit critical for the quality of record and for the quality of mastering. In this aspect, it's important to feed them with a good material. They have a boost on the upper mid frequencies, making presence area more prominent, making some instruments that fitting into that part of sonic spectrum a bit sharper in attacks, and of course making female vocal really crisp and forward. Imagery stage is above average both in width and in depth. It's typical for the natural and a bit bright models, sounding really spacious with a lot of air and with distinct layer separation in depth. And actually instruments on the imaginary stage are a bit wider than they should be, with slightly more space between them. And as an example for the mid frequencies, I've selected a bit unusual track. It's Face No More, Epic. Actually, I selected it because I really like Mike Patton's vocals, and you know what I mean. You know this group, you know this track, and it's definitely a masterpiece of that particular genre. And a bit dirty record, of course, not superb audiophilic, but still vocal is really engaging, and these earphones deliver it pretty nicely. And treble, so lower treble is slightly boosted, but then they've decided to reduce high frequencies a little bit. So if you're sensitive to the lower part of treble, they can be a bit bright, but if you're sensitive to the higher parts of sonic spectrum, there won't be big issues. So not super bright, but still a bit of accent is present, so keep that in mind if you are treble sensitive. At the same time, in terms of technical capabilities, it's a good balanced armature treble with slightly above average extension, with fast attacks and decays, slightly lightweight but nice, clean and crisp, slightly highlighting overtones and having a basic layering, but still at least trying to do that. And as an example for the treble, I've got Dream Theater, Stream of Consciousness. You know, when you are not native speaker, it's better to read this word as fast as you can and hope that no one will notice that you have no idea how to read it. And Dream Theater, it's a lot of percussion, a lot of different drums, cymbals, and Mark Portnoy adding to all of that. And of course, they require good treble performance, and this model definitely delivers it. In terms of pairing, I think it's better to use them with slightly warmer sources. Probably HiBy tuned this model to their more affordable players, because their R6 2020 and R8 are natural and actually have a monitoring representation, but R3 Pro and old version of R5. I didn't test Saber version of R5, but older version of R5 pairs really nicely with these earphones, balancing their sound. And speaking about the comparisons, to be honest, the only model I can think right now, actually probably not the only one, but the only one I can recall. There are a lot of balanced armature models, of course, but the one I'm thinking about, it's iBasso AM05. AM05 is even more natural, with dry representation and with slightly more focus on the micro contrast than here. This model is making a bit step towards the musical side of things. And actually, I recalled BGVP DM8, but the version I owned was kind of opposite. It was much warmer and weightier and focused on the different representation. And actually that's... Oh, sorry, I can't recall other models. And actually R6, of course, oh sorry, not R6, I mean Crystal 6, is more natural, more balanced, and it's actually a noticeable step forward in terms of sound, a bit less monitoring and more musical, so totally worth that price difference. So if you need some additional comparisons, of course, feel free to ask, but I want to say in advance that there is not much sense in comparing them with typical hybrids, because hybrids will have much more weight and impact on the low frequencies, while this model has more resolution. So HiBy created interesting model that actually pushes forward balanced armature sound and deliver it in a pretty interesting manner. It's definitely not the model for everyone, because not everyone needs that natural and uncolored sound, but if you're looking for something like that, it can be definitely an option worth considering. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and of course have a nice day.